I'm gonna be real. I haven't watched every single Spurs game this season. I haven't. There's actually very few games that I've watched from Spurs. So I'm not gonna pretend like I'm an expert on this football club. However, I have a few friends who support Spurs. And despite them entering this game sitting second in the Premier League, I think they entered the weekend in third, the reception and reaction to Thomas Frank since coming in has been very, very bizarre to me. Because again, I'm not watching the games, but when you see a team as high as they are after finishing as low as they were this season, you would expect the mood to be a whole lot more optimistic and positive than it currently was. And after winning 3-0 away to Everton last weekend, I found myself hearing Spurs fans saying, this style of play isn't for me. This is really, really bad to watch. I don't think this is sustainable. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, I've never heard fans after winning 3-0 away at a pretty tough place to go to, by the way, in Everton, complain, not be happy. So I went into this game curious because I'm not going to tell other people how to feel about their own club. But what I am going to do is try and understand it from their perspective. So I went into this game pretty open-minded and thought to myself, let's see what all the big deal is. Let's see if these Spurs fans have a point, or I don't know, maybe are some of them maybe just too hung up on their ex and Ange Postecoglou. I thought, let me sit back and watch. After 90 minutes of watching that, I'm here to say, I owe y'all an apology. I get it now. I wasn't familiar. I understand it now. Honestly, I understand it now. That is one of the worst 90-minute performances in a big game from a side I have ever seen. This is Chelsea versus Spurs, London derby. One of the biggest games for both sides in their calendar. And yet you wouldn't really think that watching Spurs today. Chelsea, you would. Chelsea played today like it was a final. Chelsea today played with intensity. They played with fervor. They were incredible. They could have honestly won this game 3 or 4-0. It was a breeze in the park for them. But Spurs, I'm sorry, that is a poor performance. Let's get into it, right? I mean, look, stats don't tell the whole story. Underlying metrics can sometimes be used as a crutch. But also, let's take numbers for what they are at times. 0.05 expected goals at home in a massive, massive game for your football club is awful. And it was no surprise to me that with 5 to 6 minutes left in the game, Spurs fans, only down a goal to Chelsea, were walking out of the stadium. The game ends with a long, hopeless ball falling directly into Robert Sanchez's hands. In response, thousands of boos across the stadium. This is a football club where there is a massive disconnect right now between the identity that the football club is kind of going down towards and the fan base. And it was no better displayed than today. And I hear it, man. 1 shot on target at home. 3 total shots. 0.05 XG. Guys, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And honestly, look at the lineup that was being put out today, man. What are you expecting going in with a Bentancur and Painha double pivot at home to Chelsea? What are you expecting? Seriously. The problem as well, too, of Spurs is that it's a pattern, right? They're playing like this every single game. Well, this game was Bentancur and Sarr with Painha at the back. The game before that, a 3-0 win away, where they actually had less expected goals than the team they beat 3-0 away to. Again, going with this Bentancur and Painha double pivot. Monaco in the Champions League, Bentancur and Painha double pivot, where they were lucky to get away with a draw. And then Aston Villa, the same double pivot, Bentancur and Painha. Now, there's nothing wrong with pragmatic football. Nothing, right? There's numerous ways to skin a cat. I'm not going to tell teams how to win games in the Premier League. If you win, you win. It's great. But also, I'm sorry, I hear it now when Spurs fans tell me I don't think this is sustainable or it's papering over the cracks. How on earth can you expect to be a team that dominates football games, or is not even dominating, the protagonist in football games, the team that's looking to take the game to the opposition? How, when you're lining up with Bentancur, Sarr, and Painha, and Bergvall? Bergvall goes out for Xavi Simons after 7 minutes after picking up a knock. I mean, it's never a good sign when you come in after 7 minutes and get hooked 65 minutes later. It's never a good sign. And he's maybe a signing that's gone under the radar this year, right? Because all the attention has been on Wirtz, all the attention's been on Isak, all the attention's been on a few of the United boys, Gyökeres. He's massively gone under the radar. Xavi Simons came in for big money. In fact, ironically enough, they beat Chelsea to the signing of Xavi Simons. But if we're also being frank here, guys, no pun intended, he's been an unmitigated disaster so far. Xavi Simons has offered little to nothing from a creative point of view. And when you're talking about a team that are missing creativity, they are missing a bit of impetus, they are missing a bit of X factor. That's why you were brought in, buddy. But you look at these stats. Again, 0 chances created, 0.01 expected assists, 0 accurate crosses. Overall, just ineffective, and it was no real surprise that he was hooked after coming on. No surprise whatsoever. In fact, the only player that shows any kind of threat for Spurs when I watched them today is Mohamed Kudus. He's the only one that when he gets on the ball, commits players, carries the ball forward, enters the penalty box, beats his man. He ranks first in the Premier League for a few of those metrics. But outside of him, I'm sorry, Spurs got nothing going on. They got nothing going on today. Now, the goal that they concede is really poor from Mickey van de Ven, caught out in possession. But honestly, I'm not gonna take anything away from Jed Spence, who in his own right tried his hardest to screw up that play. Loses the ball at first, then gets it back in midfield, then tries Cruyff turning Moises Caicedo, the best ball winner in the Premier League, loses it, falls back to Van de Ven, plays it out wide, gets it back, tries chipping Moises Caicedo. Caicedo says the first time wasn't enough, let me do it again. Wins the ball off him in his own penalty box and squares it to Joao Pedro, who honestly could have had 4 goals today, but 1 will do today. 1 was enough to beat this very, very sorry Spurs team. Now, like I said, I went into this game looking to learn about Spurs, and I've come out educated. This team ain't it. Now, the conversation when Ange Postecoglou left the club this summer was they were looking to move away from this very expressive manager who had this very idealistic way of playing, but ultimately was far too naive and couldn't coach a defense long enough to actually see those ideas officially implemented. And they finished 17th in the league, even despite winning the Europa League. Ange left. Now, to combat Ange's pure naivety and gung-ho approach, they have now decided to go the complete 180, the complete other extreme in Thomas Frank. And I like Thomas Frank. I think he did really, really good work at maintaining Brentford's place in the Premier League season in, season out. It's not a team that spends a lot of money. It's a team that loses their best players year in, year out. And he managed to maintain their position as a solidified Premier League club. For that, he deserves massive, massive credit. And coming to Spurs felt like a logical decision, right? He seemed to me like the next manager bound to make a big step up, right? The way we look at Glasner and Iraola now, right? Oh, if one of those big clubs sacks their manager, Iraola's probably next up. That's how we thought about Frank for the last few seasons. So it was no surprise to see him come in for Spurs, especially when you thought about the manager that they were kind of looking to replace Ange with. The thing with Frank, though, is I think at Brentford, he showed a real eye for being versatile depending on who the opposition was. And he's even come out this season and said, my style of play varies based on the opposition. Fair enough. We all like versatile managers. I wish mine was a little more versatile at times. But this season, I'm sorry, the versatility has been nowhere to be found. Again, I haven't watched Spurs every single game this season. But for me, you can tell a lot about a team based on their midfield. And when you're going into every game with Payinha and Bentancur at your base, bro, there's a reason why they couldn't get the ball from point A to point C today. Because there was absolutely nothing in point B. They struggled so much to progress the ball down the middle. It was ridiculous. They're using Kolo Muani as a target man, which is not what he is whatsoever. It's just a very, very disjointed team at the moment. And without Vicario, this game, and with better finishing from this guy, Gittins, Garnacho, Neto, this game could have been dead and buried. And it could have been a lot worse as well, too, because he got away with murder. Bentancur got away with absolute murder today. He should have been sent off in the first half. And imagine you thought this game was bad with 11 men. Spurs with 10 today could have been an absolute calamity. Now, it's crazy because, again, I direct you back to the table, and these guys sit in third. They're actually still above the team that they lost miserably to today. But maybe that just kind of sums up how bizarre the Premier League is this season. Bar Arsenal, I'm sorry, no other team has really convinced so far. Chelsea and Spurs are far from convincing. United are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Liverpool have 1 win in their last 6. I mean, they're about to play against Villa in a bit. And then you have the overachievers in Bournemouth, Sunderland, Crystal Palace, Brighton even. Villa are starting to build up a little bit of form. It's a weird, weird Premier League. So honestly, bar Arsenal, it's tough to really take too much from any team's league position between 2nd and 11th. Because 1 win, 1 draw, and everything seems to change. Having said that, I'm sorry, despite sitting in 3rd, I really understand now the criticisms and the complaints towards Thomas Frank's style of play. Because the way they're playing, yeah, I hear it. It's not sustainable. You can't afford to get outpossessed and outshot every single game and hope to continue winning football games. Eventually, the chickens will come home to roost. Eventually, your 1 shot a game is not going to go in. You know what I mean? So Spurs, massive, massive improvements need to happen. And I think a lot of it has to be directed at Thomas Frank. I believe he's a good coach. I really do. But he's got to show some kind of tactical versatility this season. You're no longer at Brentford where it's okay to have 20% of the ball, 30% of the ball, nick a goal towards the... It's okay. The standards are much lower. The expectations are much lower. You're not at a football club that has aspirations of qualifying for Champions League and winning trophies. You're at Spurs now. It's all different. And the thing with Spurs that makes them a very, very unique football club, with all due respect to Chelsea, I think at Chelsea, as a pragmatist, you can kind of get away with it, right? Because there is a certain element of Chelsea's identity post-2004 that is deep rooted in pragmatism and being tough to beat and being aggressive and hard nosed. You've seen Mourinho, you've seen Conte, you've seen Tuchel. That's not foreign to Chelsea. I think a manager can come in and play that way at Chelsea, and as long as you're winning, they'll accept it. At Spurs, there is a bit of almost like delusion at times of Spurs that they need to be playing a beautiful style of play. And I think it's a reason why so many Spurs fans honestly stuck with Ange as long as they could, because the idea of Ange represented a Spurs manager. The idea of Thomas Frank and the reality of what he's playing right now does not really represent Spurs. So I think there's actually more pressure on him at Spurs than most other clubs to really not just win, but also win with style. And right now, they're not doing that. Now, as for Chelsea, a massive, massive comeback after their disappointing loss to Sunderland. They've been a very inconsistent side this season as well, too, but I think a big reason for that is injuries. However, I need to sing the praises of Moises Caicedo, who was by far the best player on the pitch today. So instrumental in terms of protecting his back four, but today really was allowed to flex his muscles up higher up the pitch as well, too. Whether that was taking on players, retaining the ball, winning the ball high up in the opposition box. I think today was an all-action, complete performance from Moises Caicedo, and it's why arguably this season, he has been the standout midfielder in the Premier League. So impressive yet again for Moises Caicedo. I think Garnacho had one of his better games for Chelsea. In fact, I was surprised to see him hooked off before Neto because I thought he was dangerous. I thought he posed a real threat to Pedro Porro. And the other one that, again, 5 minutes at the end for Estevao. I understand he's a young player that Maresca's trying to protect, but I think based on performances this season, I would be bringing him on over Jamie Gittins, or at least earlier than Jamie Gittins every single game. He looks like a real threat for Chelsea. Yes, he's frustrating. Yes, he's not the finished article, but even at his young, raw age, I still look at him as one of Chelsea's most dangerous players and a real difference maker for them. Joao Pedro finally getting off the mark. Is it getting off the mark? I know he had a long period where he wasn't even getting shots off, let alone scoring. But today looked a lot better, and honestly, on a different day, probably should have grabbed 2 or 3. Very, very unfortunate. Vicario had a huge game. Overall, though, it's hard to take too many things away from Chelsea. They were really, really good, and they played a really, really bad team. They deserve all the credit in the world for that. Robert Sanchez, by the way, is such an interesting figure, right? Because I think everyone thinks to themselves, for Chelsea to really get back to where they want to be, they need an improvement in goal. And that might still be the case. But also, if we're being real, Robert Sanchez has been pretty good for Chelsea now for about 2 whole seasons. Like 2 seasons straight now. I think Sanchez has been pretty consistent and pretty reliable for them. Like, does he have the odd brain fart? Absolutely. That red card against United was not great. But I'm sorry, like, I think we can accept that Chelsea and have a conversation that Chelsea need a new goalkeeper, like an elite goalkeeper to take them over the top, while also realizing as well, too, that maybe we are harsh on him at times, because I think for what Chelsea are right now, he does a pretty good job for them, man. He does a pretty good job today. His claiming today was really good. I think his passing out of the back as well, too, is important for Chelsea. And yeah, I think he deserves his flowers today. But it's a very, very routine day at the office for Chelsea. The issue is, this kind of game should never be a routine day at the office, right? You could say Liverpool versus Man United. Liverpool are expected to win it all the time, but they don't. Why is that? Because in a game with this much history and this much importance to it, Man United shows up and makes a game of it. This should have been similar for Spurs. Like, are Chelsea a better team than them? I believe so. But that doesn't mean that every time Chelsea comes to town, they wipe the floor with you. And I'm sorry, if I think back to the last few Chelsea Spurs performances or results, I can't remember the last time Spurs really made a name for themselves in this fixture. Like, let me look up Chelsea versus Spurs results. I feel like Chelsea have won like the last 5 or so. Chelsea went away, Chelsea went at home, Chelsea went away, Chelsea went at home, Chelsea went away. They haven't beaten them for 2 years now. So yeah, this is not a rivalry anymore right now, guys. Chelsea are whooping them every single time they play. And it's evident in the mentality and intensity that Chelsea play with. Spurs, man, I'm going to continue keeping an eye out for your games because today is very, very alarming. I 100% now hear where the concerns come from a lot of Spurs fans. The next game, funnily enough for them, well, it's Copenhagen in the league. Hey, I'm going to definitely keep an eye out for this game. I'm going to definitely keep an eye out for this game. Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. As a Man United fan, I back us in this game. I'm not going to lie. I actually back us in this game. But let's not forget, United haven't beaten Spurs in what feels like 10 years. So let's see how it goes. But today, massively, massively concerning stuff for Spurs. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below. Where was this game won or lost? And Thomas Frank, is he under the microscope at the moment? Does he need to coach better for this team to really get to their level? Because at the moment, hey, the table might be lying a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.